What's going on, Dub Nation? You're watching Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Tyler Smith. And yes, we are talking Jonathan Kuminga once again because the NBA offseason is officially here now. The Oklahoma City Thunder won the 2025 NBA Finals in Game 7, and now all focus has been shifted to the offseason. The biggest Warriors domino to fall, we know, is Jonathan Kuminga and his restricted free agency. On today's show, we have NBA insiders reporting stuff, and Warriors general manager Mike Dunleavy also took some media availability and talked a little bit about Kuminga's impending free agency. All that and more in just a moment. But first, make sure you go down below and hit the like button. I was surveying the Chat Sports channels here in the NBA, and I was like, well, the Warriors don't have a first-round pick, so all those teams with the first-round picks, they're going to have a leg up in a potential like battle. But the Knicks, they do not, and they're the big dog here at Chat Sports, so I decided to challenge them to a draft week like battle. We got to get more likes than the New York Knicks channel this week, and I'm confident that Dub Nation could do it. So go down below and hit that thumbs up icon to get this battle started. All right, so Mike Dunleavy took some media availability ahead of the NBA draft. Warriors hold the 41st pick, so they won't be picking until Thursday. But every general manager, front office member, they usually have some media availability before the draft. But I'm not so sure that a lot of the Warriors reporters that were in attendance were so invested, at least, into the Warriors draft plans. More so invested into the biggest kind of elephant in the room for the Warriors this offseason. That is Kuminga. And Dalton Johnson tweeted this out, saying, Warriors GM Mike Dunleavy says he wants to figure out Jonathan Kuminga's future with the team sooner rather than later. Quote, it's a main priority heading into free agency. And that's good. That's good news because I don't think that the Warriors can really afford to wait very long on a Jonathan Kuminga sign and trade if that's the avenue that they're going to go down, right? Because the wells are going to dry up eventually. Teams are going to start kind of ironing out what they're going to look like for 25-26. And if this thing drags into late July, potentially August, like your trade partners are going to significantly diminish for a market that isn't exactly big to begin with. And Mike Dunleavy did say this as well in his media availability on trades, saying, quote, we'll definitely be in the mix. Now, what I'm taking away from this is like, the Warriors don't have a ton of flexibility to be active in the trade market outside of a potential Jonathan Kuminga trade. So that tells me that they are still definitely exploring that scenario, even though maybe the most likely option is that he re-signs. But the domino that needs to fall for the Warriors domino was Kevin Durant. And we know now that Kevin Durant was traded to the Houston Rockets for a package of Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 overall pick this year, and a bunch of seconds, I think, maybe. Maybe they weren't included. Regardless, that was the crux of the trade. KD's headed to Houston, and we'll talk more as this offseason goes on about how this affects Golden State. Can Golden State contend with a Oklahoma City, now a Houston who's pegged to be easy favorite to come out of the Western Conference next season with Durant in town now? So that definitely presents some challenges for Golden State. I would love for them to improve the roster, and I think the easiest way to go out and do that this offseason is with a Jonathan Kuminga sign and trade. Now, what do we know about Kuminga at this point? Well, the same things we know about the Durant trade. The two teams that were in the final, the finalists, were the Miami Heat and the Houston Rockets. And what do we know about Jonathan Kuminga? Well, the Miami Heat did view Jonathan Kuminga as, quote, fallback option. Does that mean things could be heating up in the next coming weeks, as the Heat are kind of in no man's land right now, and they certainly need to improve their roster in the wide open Eastern Conference? Barry Jackson, who reports on the Miami Heat, said the following. He said two players who have been linked to Miami in published reports, Sacramento forward DeMar DeRozan, who is said to be available, and Golden State's impending restricted free agent Jonathan Kuminga, had not been the focus of Heat discussions as of Sunday afternoon. Now, look, I think the Heat could potentially be in a situation where they're just kind of bummed out with the whole Durant situation and how it unfolded. Pat Riley was kind of stingy in what he was willing to give up for, let's be honest, a first ballot Hall of Famer, a top 15 basketball player that's ever lived. I think it's idiotic that he didn't give up what he was supposed to in order to get that deal done. But Houston, early bird gets the worm. Houston ended up getting the deal done. But these things could always change. I think this kind of stuff is always fluid in the NBA offseason. Like when wells dry up in certain avenues, like this Kevin Durant stuff for Miami, then they just look to the next available best player that they go out there and target. And it seems at this point, with them needing a player on the wing, it looks like Jonathan Kuminga could be a name that gets floated around. Now, how does a trade with Golden State and the Heat go down? Well, remember, Jonathan Kuminga, whatever his new salary is for the new team, Golden State can only take back half of that in a trade. So you got to think about players in the realm of either under 10 or like $10 to $15 million price range. So guys in that kind of realm on the Heat include Kyle Anderson, who we know Golden State traded away in the Jimmy Butler trade. I would love Slow-Mo back in the Bay Area. Haywood Highsmith is a good 3-and-D player who makes $5.6 million. So like maybe you get a package of something like Haywood Highsmith and Jaime Jaquez, like, call it a day. I would be willing to do that personally. Or if you could somehow pry away Nikola Jovic, who the Heat were not willing to give up in the Kevin Durant trade, so I do think that that's not as likely. I would be all over the point forward coming to Golden State as well. He can dribble the ball, no doubt about it. But look, these players are fine. I would be cool like with that combo of Highsmith and Jaquez in a potential Kuminga sign and trade. But again, at this point, until we hear further, looks like the Heat are trending more towards out than in on Kuminga. But we have another team that is definitely in the mix in just a moment. But before we do, comment below a sign and trade idea that sends Jonathan Kuminga to the Miami Heat. What would it look like to you guys? A perfect scenario for JK heading to South Beach. What would Golden State get back in return? You comment down below what you think. All right. The team that gets involved with the Kuminga sweepstakes. I think it's the Chicago Bulls, man. I've thought this for a little bit now. Like, way back when there were really no concrete reports of anything like that coming around this offseason, I thought Kuminga would be a Brooklyn Net. I thought that was pretty solidified. But all we've heard is that the Nets are not going to extend an offer sheet out to JK. It looks like the Bulls in the Eastern Conference are the team that is most keen on a Jonathan Kuminga sign and trade at this point. The Stein line reporting this. Sources say that Chicago has an ongoing interest in the 22-year-old forward. This tracks with past interest that the Bulls have shown in Kuminga during previous trade discussions with the Golden State Warriors over the past few seasons, involving players such as Alex Caruso, Zach LaVine, and Nikola Vucevic. But sources say Chicago has an ongoing interest in Kuminga. Now, Jake Fisher of the Sideline also added that more would become clear after the Kevin Durant trade. And then we heard from Mike Dunleavy that things are going to happen sooner rather than later. So what is going on between Chicago and Golden State? Well, let's explore the idea of Kuminga going to Chicago, which we've done a couple times on this channel. But for those of you who are new, and as we hear more information, I want to present the ideas that could end up happening this offseason for you guys. So as far as what the Bulls have in their arsenal to trade with, you got Nikola Vucevic. I mean, Golden State had interest, but really how big was the interest at the trade deadline? They could have made a deal that sent away Gary Payton and Kevon Looney, and they would have had that deal done, no doubt about it, but they decided not to go that route. So I'm not so sure how much interest they'll have this offseason. They got Kevin Huerter at $17 million. I'm not so sure that would necessarily work out. I don't think the Bulls are going to pay Kuminga $34 million a season, so maybe Golden State would have to add something else in that deal. Kobe White is a name that we've been talking about. I love that. I would love the one-for-one Kobe White swap. We'll talk about it in just a moment. Lonzo Ball makes $10 million. He's got health issues, that's for sure. But Ayo Dosunmu is another player I would really, really be interested in. I know the Bulls fans, Patrick Seatman here, who hosts the Bulls Report, is probably keen on bringing him back out of all these guys. So, look, any combo works for me. But at the end of the day, I probably would go with the Kobe White one-for-one as kind of just the cleanest way to get this deal done. Salary works out, and Golden State gets a player who definitely fits and could do a lot of things that they're going to need on the basketball court. So Kobe White for Jonathan Kuminga, one-for-one. You would assume that Kuminga makes something like $27 million. Bobby Marks pinpointed a 3-for-81 deal with a player option at the end. The Warriors Plus Minus podcast kind of did the same thing, but it was a 4-for-100 with a 3+1 player option. So that's all, whatever the Bulls want to sign him to, that's totally fine with me. As long as the Kobe White deal ends up matching up financially, I think it will. And if they can get this deal done, I am all over it. I would even consider throwing a protected first in there if they're really keen on holding on to Kobe White. What about this trade idea here? Number 2 that we're going to go with, and we talked about this a couple days ago on the show. I like it because you get Ayo in the deal, but you do have to give away Moses Moody to the Chicago Bulls, who's entering the first year of his contract extension. I think the Warriors in this trade, they do fill a need in the front court, although Nikola Vucevic plays negative defense, so we would definitely be frustrated a lot of times that he's on the basketball court. Ayo Dosunmu, good defensive player, like can shoot the outside shot, can actually handle the ball a little bit, and like you're really getting him for that on-ball defense as well. I like Ayo a lot, and that is also a trade 3, by the way. But this deal, it works for me. It's not my favorite, but at the end of the day, I would still probably end up accepting it. I think that the Warriors and Kuminga just need a separation, and by any means necessary, I think that's the way to go. But then I came across this deal today, a 3-team blockbuster of sorts that I'm kind of in on, to be honest. Warriors get a good bit of depth through this trade. The Bulls would get Kuminga, obviously, through the sign and trade. The Hornets would get involved. Now, you would send away Moses Moody. They would get Javon Carter from the Bulls as well. And then the Warriors would receive Lonzo Ball, Jalen Smith, who, look, the Bulls maybe overpaid him last offseason, $9 million a year, and he was not the player that was worth $9 million for them this season. But another body in the front court. Golden State needs size. There's no doubt about it. So you pick him up, you pick Lonzo up. Hopefully he can stay healthy and be a good off-the-bench backup guard to Steph. I think a Josh Okogie, who's a solid wing defender as well, a little bit of an athlete. I like Okogie's game, and he would absolutely be in the rotation for Golden State. Plus, you get a protected first-round pick from the Portland Trailblazers next year, and I believe it's probably like a top 10 protected, lottery protected, something like that. And you get 4 second-round picks. So the Golden State Warriors make out like bandits in this deal, from my opinion. It all comes down to all these sides, and how bad does Chicago really want Jonathan Kuminga? That is the question that you have to answer. My question to you now is this, though. Pick a sign and trade to make. If it's this first idea, which is something I've been loving over the past couple of weeks, Kobe White for Kuminga straight up 1-for-1. Type 1 in the comment section. If it's number 2, though, that sends Nikola Vucevic, Ayo Dosunmu, and some draft assets to Golden State for Kuminga and Moody, type a 2 in the comment section. Or if it's the 3-team mega deal that I just popped up on screen that sends Lonzo, Jalen Smith, Josh Okogie, and a first-round pick to Golden State for Kuminga and Moody, Javon Carter goes to the Hornets. Type 3 in the comment section. You tell me which deal you would make. We'll talk more about Kuminga's future in just a moment, but I got to tell you guys about this awesome deal as the holiday is coming up. 4th of July, one of my favorite holidays of the entire year, and I might have to get myself this fresh tee right here. USA in the Warriors logo. That's tough, man. This is a cool little tee we came across here, and I got the link for you in the comment section and description of today's video. Chatsports.com/Dubs4th. DUBS4TH. Dubs4th. Get it in the comment section and description of today's video. Rock this while you're cooking dogs on the 4th of July. All right, let's talk about it, man, because the Warriors are going to explore sign and trade options with Kuminga, but all reports that we've heard lately signal to me that the most likely outcome for a Kuminga future this offseason is that he ends up coming back to the Golden State Warriors. We heard from Monty Poole that the scuttlebutt around the league is that the Warriors will find a way to hang on to Jonathan Kuminga. We heard from Brett Siegel a couple days ago that Kuminga re-signing with Golden State has gained momentum, and the Warriors do have the ability, if they were to re-sign Kuminga, to get the full value back if they were to trade him down the line. So Monty Poole alluded to that Kuminga is not necessarily a long-term piece in Golden State, and that nobody in the Warriors front office really believes that he's going to be carrying the mantle and the focal point of Warriors championship runs in the future. So as of right now, it seems as if signs point to Kuminga coming back, but I am praying to the Lord upstairs that Chicago gets involved and wants to throw stuff at Golden State to get Kuminga to the Windy City. Now, if that ends up happening and Golden State can make a trade this offseason and they have some flexibility, shout out to my guy, Babyface Goat on Twitter. He put this tweet up with all these Warriors offseason watch lists. And as we wrap up today's show, I thought it would be fun to just explore the names that you see on screen here. I have a feeling that at least one player that you see on your screen right now will be a member of the Golden State Warriors next season. You got Derek White, you got Kristaps Porzingis, Kobe White, Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez. There's Karis LeVert, S.C. Santi Aldama, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, DeAnthony Melton, who I think is going to be on the Golden State Warriors next year, Colin Sexton, Naz Reid, Luke Cornett, Malik Monk, who's available in trades right now with the Kings, our guy Cam Johnson, who I would love to be a Warrior, as well as Daniel Gafford, the center over in Dallas. Look, I would love if any of those guys end up coming to Golden State, though. I don't think that keeping Jonathan Kuminga would make it very easy to make one of those guys in blue and gold. That will do it for today's edition of Warriors Today by Chat Sports. If anything heats up around a Warriors target in free agency via trade, this Kuminga stuff gets a little bit more real. We're bringing you guys the info right here at Warriors Today. So lock us in, hit that big red subscribe button for free for the best Warriors offseason content on YouTube. We'll see you guys all in the next one. And as always, let's go Dubs.